Welcome, everyone, to episode 13 of Full Court Magic. I'm your host, Don Strouble, and it is good to be back after a little over a week away. I've still been plenty busy with the Magic, just certain circumstances have come up that have prohibited me from being able to do the show. I went down to Miami for that close victory over the Heat to complete the season sweep of the Heat. You guys might have seen, some of my short clips on social media. Might have read the post-game story or whatever. But unfortunately, was not able to find a spot to do the show. It's a little bit of a different layout in the Kaseya Center. And considering I was visiting media, I didn't want to go and try and occupy a space for too long. Like I own the place. And then the other night, against the Thunder. Well, I guess previously against the Hawks, just had some stuff going on. And then against the Thunder, the usual room where I do the podcast was occupied. And it's like the hallway just outside was pretty noisy with fans, despite a loss to the Thunder. So I'm here today. We're going to break down these two losses and talk about what's coming up next with the Charlotte Hornets. I think that this is a really important stretch for the Magic. This is something that they're winners of 7 straight. That was really, really crucial for them. But the two losses, I believe, I'm going to double check right now. I know as of yesterday, they got pushed back to 6th place after being in 5th. And that is still the case. The Raptors are ahead of them now at 38 and 29. Heat are behind them once again at 38 and 31 after the Magic were able to put some distance between themselves and the Heat with that win in Miami. So let's get into it. So obviously loss to the Hawks to start that back-to-back slate this week. Had to travel to Atlanta after the Miami game and lost 124 to 112. Hawks guard Nickeil Alexander-Walker had a career high 41 points. And the Hawks are going to be a tough out in this one. Another Southeast Division rival whose win streak was even longer than the Magic's. Their win over the Magic was their 10th in a row. Orlando just fell short in multiple categories. It lost the rebounding battle 54 to 40. It lost the assist battle 33 to 20. And after the game, Mosley just talked about the team being a step slow, missing a couple shots and then letting it affect the defense a little bit. It really was just a story of like two really hot teams coming in, but Atlanta had a chance to make it double digits, had a chance to defend home court, and the Hawks certainly did that. Thanks to Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 12 of 21 shooting from him, 9 of 14 from 3. That's just going to be really hard to slow down when someone has that kind of night. And a lot of it came down to communication on the defensive end. That was another thing that Mosley was critical of. He said, and I quote, "I think the communication, a big portion of that was on the defensive end. Again, this is why you've got to give Atlanta a ton of credit in what they've done. They're flying through screens, slipping out of screens, and that communication caused some confusion for us in those areas." He also bemoaned the physicality of the Magic in that game. Just a tough night. Win streak comes to an end at 7, but things would not get easier for the Magic because on the second night of a back-to-back, they had to deal with Nickeil Alexander-Walker's cousin, reigning MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and the defending NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder. Luckily for the Magic, that game was at home, so they didn't have to go and deal with that environment. But nevertheless, another loss, 113 to 108, and it just the Alexander family, it really was, making it difficult for this team. I mean, Shea dropped 40 of his own. So between him and his cousin in back-to-back nights, the Magic allowed 81 points between the two. Um, the win for the Thunder clinched them a playoff spot. They remain the best team in the league. And that was the loss that moved the Magic back to sixth place in the East. Once again, just unable to stop SGA. He went 14 to 27 from the field. He also had four steals and was able to start getting to the line, especially in the second half. He took 11 free throws and made nine of them. And it was something that I talked about with Mosley pregame is like, you already had to deal with his cousin in a career high. How do you make it tough on Shea? Because Mosley's thing is you can't stop the greats, and that's a fair and probably pretty obvious assessment, but how do you make it tough on him? So we talked about it, it came down to the philosophy of putting him in a crowd and, you know, just trying to guard him the right way that is not going to elicit free throws. But it got to a point where, you know, Shea is really masterful in terms of manipulating the game and how he's able to get to the line. And that was something that Mosley talked about afterward. He said, um, you know, uh, I think it was we fouled him early. He found a rhythm, and then you couldn't really touch him after that. He got himself going, getting downhill, tried to get it out of his hands a ton of times, and he just finds a way. He's slippery getting to the rim. And that was kind of the story of it. Most of SGA's damage came in the second half. He scored 28 points on 66.7% shooting from the field. So really just made the Magic pay for it. And this was a game of multiple runs. I mean, the Magic were down, I believe, as many as 18, and then were able to come storming back and get up by as many as 7 before falling behind again and just back and forth, and, ended up on the losing side of that. Bane talked about what Gilgeous-Alexander is able to do. He said, he puts a lot of pressure on you defensively. He gets to the free throw line a lot, but he also has the defense on his heels a lot. Definitely true. He was really putting the Magic in a tough situation with that fadeaway mid-range jumper. His ability to dribble, penetrate, and get to his spots. Really just, like I said, a lot of pressure, but that's what you expect of a former MVP, and Orlando paid for it. Another thing that kind of doomed the Magic in this loss, specifically to the Thunder, it was the inefficiency of the bench. Orlando simply fell short in this one. The Magic's reserves were only able to generate 22 bench points while shooting 7 of 28 from the field. The Thunder got 10 more than that from their bench at 32 points and hit 12 of their 30 shot attempts, so a better shooting percentage overall as well. And it really hurt the Magic in the first half. According to Desmond Bane, he said they had that run at the end of the first quarter, early second quarter. Our bench unit wasn't able to generate points. They were getting layups after layups. Thought that created a little separation for them. And, we made it close and had our chances. And they definitely did. I mean, like I said, overcome an 18-point deficit and take a 7-point lead. It's certainly a game of runs, and the Magic just were not able to sustain the effort that it took to get back in the game and ultimately get out ahead. But after 2 losses, to good teams, really, really good teams, this isn't something that Orlando is hanging its head over. The common theme in the locker room still seems to be like a sense of level-headedness, that things are going to be okay with the season. It's winding down, and just the right mindset. Mosley just talked about bouncing back. He said, here's the thing. We talk about one game at a time. And, last night, referencing the Hawks game, we didn't get what we wanted as a result. Tonight, we didn't get the result we wanted. But we are playing but are we playing the right type of basketball? I think we did some good things tonight, but I think there's a lot we can grow from and learn from, and we're going to have to do that going to Charlotte. And Bain kind of gave his own spin on that, talking about the players are coming in hungry, understanding what's at hand, what they're trying to accomplish. He said, I mean, we just won 7 games in a row, lost to an Atlanta team that's won 10 in a row and a team that's got the best record in the league. So I don't think we need to start hanging our heads or anything. So this hasn't rattled confidence in the least. It seems like that this is a team that's still very much in the right headspace and ready for the challenge ahead. But it is going to be a challenge ahead. The last 2 meetings against the Hornets have not gone well for the Magic. After losing or winning, excuse me, the first of those meetings this season, the Magic have lost the last 2 by double digits. To Charlotte, that is just really, really gotten better as the season has gone on. And it's one of those things where like Con Knippel's playing really well. He's, certainly made a case for the Rookie of the Year race. And they've exploited the Magic's weaknesses. Now the Magic are also a better team than the last time these two squads faced off, but nonetheless, yeah, here we go. Yeah, so the Magic won the first game by 16 points in the beginning of the season, October 30th, 123 to 107. The last 2 games, the day after Christmas, Charlotte beat them 120 to 105, and then 124 to 97 on January 22nd. As of right now, injury report seems like the Hornets are mostly healthy. They're going to be missing the forward Salon. But for the Magic, a little bit of a different story. Anthony Black remains out. When we talked to Coach Mosley on Tuesday before the game against the Thunder, he said that, just some light weight room stuff, but not really close to the court yet for Black. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have seen the reports and probably, the article that my colleague Jason Beatty wrote for the Orlando Sentinel on the status of Franz Wagner and this nagging ankle that has just been giving him problems since before Christmas when he was dealt that high ankle sprain in that game against the Knicks on December 7th. It's just been, a lot of up and down for him. He's tried to come back twice now. Has ultimately led to his returned absence and just not in the best of place in terms of getting that squared away for good, but he said he's working hard on getting back to the floor. Jonathan Isaac is also out with a left knee sprain that he suffered a few games ago. And so, once again, I mean, missing 2 high-level scorers in Black and Wagner, and so more of the onus falls on Banchero, Desmond Bain, really everyone, but those are your 2 stars that are still on the floor, and so those are the ones who are going to have to really take the reins for this offense. And it's not going to be an easy task because the Hornets are 35 and 34. They are 10th place in the East, and with only so many games remaining, I'm going to double check how many are left. I know for some teams it's 12. Let me just double check with the Magic here, and I'll check the Hornets too. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 14 games left for the Magic. That, is including tonight. For Charlotte, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so one less game, including tonight. 13 games left. And Charlotte, I mean, they're in this situation where it's like you can go on a run you might sneak into the playoffs and not be relegated to a play-in, and I'm sure that that's something that is being talked about in that locker room and within that organization. Like, look, we started out the season looking rough. Like, it might be another rebuilding year, but then they caught fire, um, and they've done some really good things. And the Magic have paid for it more than once now. And this is the final meeting of these two teams, another Southeast Division battle, and the Magic are going to have to make the most of it. And it's it's the start of truly the home stretch here as we're getting closer and closer to just single digit games remaining on the schedule. The Magic are trying to protect their place in the standings. And, I mean, they got the Hornets, and then they host the Lakers, host Indiana, go back to Cleveland, host Sacramento, then at Toronto, host Phoenix, host Atlanta. Um, and that is the next after tonight's game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Um, and some pretty tough opponents on the back end here. The final four games are Pistons, Timberwolves, Bulls, and Celtics. Uh, Big news did drop though. Cade Cunningham has a collapsed lung, and is set to miss some time. It's hard to say whether or not he would be back for the April 6th matchup, um, where the Magic will host Detroit. But, if not, nevertheless, that's still a very, very capable and talented team without him. It's the reason they're one of the best in the NBA. And so, nevertheless, it's going to be hard for the Magic. But this is what we're looking at. That this is how things are going to play out, and it starts tonight in Charlotte, North Carolina, and this is going to have to be a team um, in the Magic that's ready to go and does not repeat the same mistakes that they did um, in the last two matchups. You got a lot of guys to deal with: Con Knipple, Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball. Just just a wealth of young players that are hungry and ready, especially guys that have been there for a few years now in Ball and Miller that are like, okay, let's at least get into the play in, like let's at least give ourselves a chance at the postseason. And that there's a chance that after two wins against the Magic, they're smelling blood in the water. They want to close this thing out with a win against them in the regular season to finalize that. So, yeah, this is the picture, guys. I will have a post game story tonight. I'm going to try to get back on the air as soon as possible. Ideally, when the Magic host the Lakers on Saturday. I imagine that is going to be a very, very packed media room. So, might be one of those things where I have to come home and do the podcast. But nevertheless, gonna have content for you guys regardless. So as always, I appreciate y'all joining me. Sorry for the delay in getting this episode up. And I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm Don Struble, and this has been Full Court Magic.